Today, we are talking with Frank Phillips from Rivian. He manages the collision repair segment of Rivian. And not only are Rivians so cool, have you seen one in person? I mean, like futuristic awesomeness on wheels. But their collision repair program is set up unlike anything I've ever heard of before. It is really, really impressive. So check out what Frank's got to say, and I think you're going to agree.
Welcome to Body Bangin', your podcast for all things body. Auto body, that is. And now, introducing Body Bangin's host, Mickey Woods of Mickey Woods Marketing. Mickey is a former auto collision center owner and is now a marketing and business development expert to shops across the globe.
Hello, and welcome back to today's episode of the Body Bangin' Podcast. If you are loving this podcast, make sure you share it. That's how the podcast grows. So share it with the people in your team, your friends, your family, whoever you think might find this useful, share it. And if you're listening or watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, or follow if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those fun things. So today, let's get us going. We are talking about a really hot topic in the industry. I hear a lot of my shops talking about electric vehicles. So I asked Frank Phillips from Rivian to come on to chat about it. Hello, Frank.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I guess it is afternoon where you're at, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yep.
So Frank has worked with Rivian for almost 3 years now and been in the collision industry for 34 years, which is awesome. He's worked everything from the insurance side. He's taught collision repair, worked for some of the consolidators. So you've really worked at this point now on every spectrum, every level of the industry, right?
Right. Kind of caught every corner of it, it seems.
Yeah. So I'm excited. First of all, let's talk about the Rivian because I see them driving around now in my area. I'm in Southern California, and I see them driving around quite a bit. And they are, I mean, they catch your eye. It's like, whoa, my kids are always like, Mom, what was that? That's so cool.
Yeah, they definitely have an appeal to them, right? That front end, what we call the stadium headlights are definitely an attraction. It's unusual.
Yeah. It looks like a car that we would see in the, for so long, we're like, what kind of cars will we see in the future? And it's like, these cars really aren't that different. And then the Rivian hit the road and it was like, now that looks like a car from the future. And it's still cool. It's not so concept car that it looks ridiculous.
Exactly right. We kept a lot of the cool features of what those of us who have been in the industry for 35 years, what we've all always thought about being a car person, right? We kept a lot of those aspects to the vehicle, but then we made it really cool with not only its ability, but then the look. There's just enough diversity in the look, and then you factor in the capability, and oh my gosh, it's a crazy cool vehicle for sure.
Yeah, I've never been inside of one. The only electric vehicle I've been inside of, I want to say, is like the Taycan, the Jaguar's F-Pace, I think it's called, or the I-Pace, and then a Tesla. And like the Tesla feels very almost utilitarian inside. The Taycan and the I-Pace are a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more what I think the higher end driver would like. How is the interior feel for the Rivian?
I think you would probably classify somewhere in the middle. So we're very simple. There's not a lot of, when you climb into some luxury brands, you feel lots of buttons. You feel a lot of that quick visual access to things.
Right.
Are very much embedded in the interface. And so as a simple example, to adjust your heater vents on your dash, typically you just reach up and move them.
Right.
Then you actually have to go into the interface and move them digitally. So some of the features, it's very clean and sleek with that regard, but it has a lot of really cool sustainability factor to it. It's got a wood grain dash. The upholstery is very, it's built for our adventure model because that's Rivian's motto, right? Keep the world adventurous. So it really has that utility feel from that perspective, but the comfort and the feel is still very luxurious as well. So it's kind of a conundrum when you think about it. We were able to touch all the things that everybody looks for when you talk about Rivian.
Right.
And I think it really hit the mark for the customers that have taken delivery of them. We get a lot of points for it.
And it seems like there are more and more on the road as time goes on, naturally. So how many, because there are some shops that have never had a Rivian in their shop or even seen one in person. So across the U.S. at this point, since most listeners are in the U.S., where are you at? Like, how many units do you have on the ground, and where are you expecting to be at?
Sure. So as people may or may not know, we have 3 products. So over my shoulder, you see the SUV. That's our R1S.
Yeah, that's cool.
We have the R1T, which is kind of our cornerstone. That's the model that we delivered first. That's the pickup truck. Okay. And then we also have the Amazon delivery van, which we call the EDV. And so collectively, when you add all of them up today, we're probably in the neighborhood of about 30,000 units on the road.
Okay. And then how do you have a goal or a projection of where you're wanting to be, maybe like next year or something like that?
Sure. So our anticipation delivery this year is 50,000 units.
Okay.
That's been broadcast out by Rivian to the public forum to say that's our target, is to put an additional 50,000 on the road this year.
Okay. So we should be seeing then like doubling, right? Yeah. So that's cool.
We've delivered them all over the U.S. Predominantly, you see a bunch in Southern California because California is a big EV market. So we have a lot of demand there. But we have them in pretty much almost every state.
Okay. So now and I want to get some of this background not out of the way, but I want to cover it because I feel like we want to understand the vehicle, because eventually there's going to be one that's going to land in your shop. So if you haven't seen one in person or you haven't experienced one, at least this gives you some degree of understanding about Rivian in general. So you've got the 3 different vehicles right now, and it looks like price-wise, they start like in the high 60s. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think if you go on and do a pre-order today with the new models that we'll be coming out with, that's the right at that 69 to 70 mark, depending between the T and the S. The EDV delivery van is a proprietary vehicle only sold to Amazon today. Okay. That one is that nobody can go pre-order that one, but our passenger cars definitely start in that $70,000 range and then move their way up to the vehicles that we're currently delivering today, have some different features on them. They're a little more expensive.
And that seems competitive pricing wise with the other EVs on the market. Are you finding that?
Yep. Yeah, we worked really hard to try to stay in the space and keep, that price at a point that people that understand electric vehicles as a new model, what they're getting in their purchase. If you spend $100,000 on a Rivian today, the capability of that product to off-road, to be adventurous, to get you to the places that we want our customers to be able to go, it's all there, and it's a good price, or it's a good value for your money.
Yeah, I'm interested to check one out closer. I remember the first one that I saw and I took a picture and I sent it to my husband. I'm like, ooh, look at this.
we have a great experience center in Venice Beach that you can go to. They usually have at least one R1S and one R1T on site there that you can climb around and check out.
So it seems to be the way of the EVs moving forward, or at least these strict, general manufacturers still have the showroom and you walk in and that's how you can purchase the car. For you guys, are you going along the lines of ordering online, going to an experience center? Okay, so you don't have like dealerships.
Correct. Yeah, we're a direct sale organization. Yep.
Okay. So now when it comes to the auto body side of it, I assume you typically want your Rivians repaired by a certified collision repair center.
Yep.
And
that's
then
what I do. That's my role at Rivian is to lead the certified collision network.
Okay.
And, my team is the one that's out qualifying collision centers so that they can be trained and properly equipped to work on them.
Right. So now I know a lot of the certification programs. Well, where do I start with this? Some shops feel overwhelmed by the certification programs in general for any manufacturer. And part of the overwhelming feeling comes from cost. And I always tell my shops that I'm working with, if you want to get certified, start with some, find out what has the biggest market share that you have and start with something on the smaller side. Because some of them want to just rush right into the EVs. And it's like, what would your advice be to shops?
I think as we look at where the industry's going, and we're hearing every manufacturer talk about electrification of all of their cars, right? I mean,
Right.
without exception, pretty much everybody has a path to electrification. So my number one recommendation is don't be scared of electric vehicle repairs. They're not any more complicated than what we work on today. If you think about when we first started working on cars, it was difficult because we didn't know, it was new.
Right.
We learned it's the same process with an EV. There's precautions you have to take to make sure you're safe, just like you have to do with ICE fleet vehicles. It's not different in that regard. It's a different process. You just have to understand it. So number one piece of advice is don't be afraid of them. Get yourself educated. Embrace the manufacturer and what they make available to you to learn, and take advantage of those offerings that they have. And that will help you decide what programs make the most sense for you to participate in. I think Rivian, and we have a lot of colleagues in the industry that do what I do, and we've taken similar approaches with our programs. We really focused on developing partnerships with our collision centers. It's really not a goal of ours to walk in a door and sign somebody up and never see them again. We really want to establish a situation where a collision center feels fully supported, the manufacturer, so that we can all work together in the common theme of the guy that is subjected to have to use the collision center in an unfortunate situation. And that's because he had a wreck, right?
Right.
But we really want to focus on how do we put all of our attention on the customer to give them the very best experience, an experience that aligns to what they got when they purchased their vehicle. That's a key component to our program, which I think is a little bit unique to a lot of OE programs, and that overwhelming feeling that can come where you're handed all the paperwork and you're expected to do these things, and then there's no support to accomplish.
Right. Now with Rivian, are you guys typically then having, I assume, service centers? So I want to equate it to what people can understand. So there are a lot of shops that are Tesla certified. So they're used to the concept of dealing with the service center, or not dealing with, that sounds bad. Working with the service center, who refers a lot of warranty work and things like that, or refers the guests over to the shop. Is it similar in nature to how Rivian is working?
It is. It's very similar. And so we kind of taken a step back, and we'll use our we call it our compass values. And we zoomed out on how that model works and how we partner best with service centers. And so we actually developed an ancillary program to our certified collision center, which is a Rivian collision vendor. And so that warranty work, or that logistics work that might be required when a vehicle gets delivered across the country and it had some shipping damage, that we have a program that we can leverage and tap into collision centers who just want to kind of delve in a little bit, or that fits the wheelhouse better in what they do. So we have that option as an entry level program. Then we move into our full-blown certified collision center. We have a full-blown certified fleet center for the Amazon vehicle. And then we just in 2023, we started a diagnostic certification to address the calibration needs that come on our vehicle. Obviously, when you get into today's technology on cars, you hardly can't walk around a Rivian and not see a camera in some capacity. And so that means there's going to be a calibration required when you start repairing them. Right. And as we know in the industry, calibration isn't easy. Not many collision centers are tailored to be able to perform that work. They don't have the clear space. They don't have the equipment. Sometimes they don't have the skill set, and it's easier for them to send that out, right? And so many of the shops in our network have raised that as their preference. I prefer to send it somewhere else to be done. So we created a diagnostic certification for independent calibrators to partner with our collision network and perform that work. And so really I guess why I go through all of that, Mickey, is to simply say, we wanted to simplify the process all the way down so that nobody felt like they were isolated out there having to do all of it without support. And I think that those 4 programs together really help somebody navigate across all the lanes that Rivian offers. Right. And it's a pick and choose, right? You choose which part of it you want to participate in.
I think that's brilliant. Working with shops that work with some other manufacturers, we won't name names because they're all wonderful in their own way. It is very difficult for a shop to be expected to be all things to this one manufacturer. And understanding and I think it really helps the fact that you lead the program and you have such a vast background in the automotive industry, because a lot of people come into this industry from other industries and they don't really understand the complexities of it. And it feels like the body shop side of it is left to deal with almost their ignorance and things.
Yes.
And I think that you, with your experience, has helped to shape this program to be what it is, I'm sure, because only somebody that has understanding could create something like this. So kudos to you and your team.
We appreciate that. Thanks, Mickey, very much for that. And I take very little credit for that. Our team is really the ones with the experience. They're the ones out doing the work. And we built the collision team with that presence in mind.
Right.
Almost everybody on the team has a background in the collision industry. And we work very cohesively together, from engineering, from our service engineers that are collision specialists, all the way down through my support team that takes a phone call from the collision center that needs help. And so all very much with that focus in the industry to make sure that we have that experience. To your point, there's so many folks who just think that going to a body shop is just that, and you drop your car off and you pick it up.
Right.
And they don't really understand all of the inner workings that goes on in order for that car to get repaired.
That and the OE programs don't understand how difficult the warranty work can be, especially when you're dealing with the EVs made to order. They show up at the port, there's damage. There's damage in just the manufacturing of the vehicle, so that you have different levels. I really appreciate that. And I hope others can learn from you, because I'm sure this really alleviates a lot of stress and pressure off the shop so that they can do what they do in the best way, right? And it's all for the consumer. We all work together for the consumer.
I 100% say when we started, we're a new manufacturer. We can't ever assume that we get front of line treatment. We're small. There's a lot of other competing priorities.
Right.
And I tell my team all the time, if we make it easy for a collision center to fix a Rivian, they will choose our car every time. We don't have to ask for special treatment. It just by default organically happens because we've set up the program to allow them to do that successfully.
Yeah. Now, we talked a little bit about, you've got basically like the SUV model that if you're watching on YouTube, you can see behind Frank there, which looks really cool. The truck, which I've personally seen many of in my area, and I want one. And then we also have the Amazon fleet vehicles. Now, you had mentioned that one of the levels, I guess we'll call it, of certification is shops can apply. Now, would that be specifically only for the larger vehicles that they would repair?
So we open it up across the board, and we have we have about 150 certified locations today.
Okay.
That encompasses all four of the various programs. Many of those are what we call dual certified. So they're capable of working on the passenger vehicle as well as the Amazon vehicle.
Okay.
And we have many fleet centers that's just the business they do. They're very good at fixing large commercial vehicles. They understand the difference in the account, right? That's a moneymaker product. It's not your personal car. And so that driver of that Amazon van just needs it back because that's his job.
Yes.
And when it's off the road, it's impacting his livelihood. A collision event, while as painful for a customer in a car that owns the vehicle, it's a different experience, right?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to make sure that we created those paths for that to work out the best for all of the end user or the customer. And so the Fleet Center program is an option for folks who are just really focused in on that. It's a segment that we call it the medium duty collision segment. We reference it a lot at Rivian. I think it's a blue sky segment of the industry. I think there's a huge opportunity coming off of the pandemic. There's shops that are thinking about reinventing, coming up with different approaches on where they go now, right? Where they move their business to. It's a segment I think that's worth exploring for shops that are willing to put some time in, some investment in some cases, and really dig into what's available out there. It's great work. It's consistent. They think about these vans, right? Every one of us that's listening probably has an Amazon Prime account.
Yeah,
van
I do.
To your door at least once a day, right?
Yep. Yep. Many times a day, actually.
Exactly.
How that happens, I don't know. Well, and something to think about for shops also is, I think there is a lot of money to be made there. It is a great way to expand and change up your business style, like you were saying. And definitely something to think about is potentially you don't need a whole lot of extra equipment, I wouldn't imagine. The thing to think about would be the oversized paint booth. Would I assume is the biggest issue for shops?
Amen. Number one challenge for us right there. We know there's give or take 30,000 collision centers in the United States. What percentage of those have a commercial size paint booth? The number's pretty small. Yeah.
I'm sure. Why the heck would you need one? And so why would you spend the money on it, right? Yeah. I'm going to interrupt this podcast for just one quick second, because a lot of people wonder, Mickey, what is it that you even do besides host a podcast? Well, I do marketing, and really the biggest thing that I do is help you drive more traffic to your business. And not even just more traffic, but consistent traffic to your business. As a former shop owner, I know how important that is. So if that's something you're interested in, or you just want to talk about marketing or developing your business in general, feel free to reach out. You can visit collisioncentermarketing.com. There's a calendar on there, and you can just book a time that works for you, and we'll set up a phone call. Or you can email or call me, and my notes are down in the description of this episode. But I hope to hear from you. I'd love to help you build your business. But in the meantime, you better get back to this podcast because it's really good. And so I think you're talking a lot of really interesting things. So I want the shops to pay attention to this, because there's a lot of ways to diversify the ways that your shop can be making money. And we've got your standard collision repair for your ICE vehicles. Then we've got the EV segment. And now within how Rivian's doing it, which now we're dealing with a lot, we've got the independent calibration centers coming in. Now we've got what you guys are calling the medium duty level, which now you can handle fleet oversized vehicles, that type of thing, commercial vehicles. So there's a lot of different directions, and I would say opportunity in the collision industry to build off if you feel like you already have a good solid foundation, and what direction do I want to go in next?
I agree. And that's what we find. It's really fun. Probably over the course of the last, almost 3 years since I've been at Rivian, probably visited 1,000 collision centers across the country as we've sought out our network. It's really, really fun to listen to innovative, excited owners who want to take their business to the next level. Having been in the collision business as long as I have, we hear the horror stories too, the challenges of dealing with insurance, and I always have to concede and all the things that come.
Right.
And we try to navigate away from that and find the positive in what we can do. And that medium duty piece is a unique space. The calibration is a unique up and coming space. So we're just trying to be a voice out there to say, look, it's not always doom and gloom. There's a lot of opportunity to do some really cool things in this space and make good money.
Right, exactly. And you're already in it. So now what can you do? Okay, so you just mentioned something interesting, is the insurance side of it. So typically, I don't know, I don't own an electric vehicle. I did look at purchasing one previously. The insurance on these things, is it a different plan that people have? Is it the same type of plan? How are body shops working with insurance when it comes to EVs?
Sure. So Rivian's a little bit unique, and I guess maybe not unique, more front line, I guess, in the sense. We also have our own Rivian insurance product. So when you purchase a Rivian, you can do what we call the full under one roof closed loop experience, right? You can purchase it, you can insure it. And then when there's a collision event, you go to a certified collision network. It's all within the same ecosystem, helps make the experience better. That's our goal and our plan.
So I'm assuming you guys pay for OE repairs, OE repair procedures, and you pay for scanning. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Okay,
exactly right. It's a unique concept.
Yes,
you'll see it more, and I think some of the mainstream carriers are probably a little scared of some of the manufacturers getting into the insurance space. It's coming. I mean, it's as we evolve, and it's just part of the next evolution.
I agree.
that's one aspect. Not everybody buys Rivian insurance because you can insure, people don't want to change. They might insure with another company. They might like their agent, all the different reasons.
Yeah.
So dealing with an EV policy versus your ICE fleet policy, it's really not different. It's rated different because it's an electric vehicle. But at the end of the day, it's still a collision or a comprehensive policy that we all purchase for full coverage. It's addressed the same way. Insurance carriers, as we all know, look at ratings differently. They have different components that go into factoring what the price of the insurance is. And so I guess I tell customers who ask me or people who ask me about owning an electric vehicle, do your due diligence, do your homework, go get some quotes, because there's carriers out there who are reasonable and there's carriers who don't know what they're insuring. And so you want to make sure you do your part as a good consumer.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And I agree with you. We've been hearing about the manufacturers coming into this space. So it's interesting that you are there. That is cool.
Yeah. And you had mentioned day one with it. That was pretty cool.
I'm interested to see who else actually launches it. There's been a lot of manufacturers talking about it, yet we haven't seen any make the move. So I know they're really closely aligned in a lot of ways with insurance companies. It's not the same, though. It's different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than having your own.
It is. So we partner with an underwriter to write our policies, but we're very integrated with that organization to help them understand what our expectation for our customers are. And we just mutually align on our approach to that. It's a great, transparent conversation that I spent 10 years as an insurance claims manager doing on the dark side, as we like to say, doing those things and being the negotiator with the collision center and having to deal with those things. And this really makes it very refreshing and easier for everybody to be able to navigate and manage. Our certified network that get to work with Rivian Insurance, they love it because they know that
I bet
our insurance company understands that we picked good shops to be certified. We qualify them with training and equipment, and they're repairing the vehicle correctly, and they use the procedures to write those repair plans. And they understand that. They put themselves in the position of a bill payer, which is the right place for them to be.
Right. Now, you had mentioned something a little bit earlier on of not having a fear of EVs. And I agree. I think a lot of the fear comes from the unknown. When we don't know things, it's a little scary, understandably. And then there's the healthy fear because we are talking about electric current in a vehicle that we've never dealt with before. So how are you navigating? I assume that's a lot of education.
Sure.
How are you getting the education out to your shops? I assume through your certified program, you can talk about that. And then also we've got like ambulances, fire trucks, that type of thing. How are you disseminating that information out there to those folks?
Sure. So a couple of things. So around our learning network at Rivian for the certified collision program, we have a full, robust training team that develops the high voltage training. It's one of the required courses. In fact, that course has to be completed before you're officially identified as a certified collision center.
Okay.
That's an online course that gets you through step one. It's a prerequisite to our first in-person class that we require, which is the high voltage mechanical course. That's all baked into our program. All of those things have to be completed in order to be qualified to work on those aspects of the Rivian. If you're talking about drive unit repairs or removals, batteries, those types of things, that training has to happen first. In the event that we're kind of we say it a lot, we're building the plane as we're flying it. In the event that we have a situation where a collision center has to engage in that repair, that's where our service department comes into play. We have service centers strategically placed around the United States with mobile service as an option as well. And those folks are able to partner with our collision centers to help with those specific type of repairs that require very specific training and knowledge and education. So that kind of covers the repair side of it. The first responder piece of it, believe it or not, is that there's regulatory requirements for auto manufacturers to provide a standard training information to all the first responder organizations. And so that's actually governed to a sense. And so we've had that training developed. Every electric vehicle has what we call the fireman's loop, where you can quickly disable the vehicle, the high voltage, and that makes it safe. So firemen can cut on the vehicle and do need to do an extrication and that kind of thing. But we go a step further, and we have a team who works with educating those folks when they reach out to us for specific training needs. So I got to participate in a training class with a fire department in Northern California a while back, where we walked through the process of how would you walk up to an electric delivery van, the Amazon vehicle, and approach that vehicle, because it's new and different. It looks different than anything else than you would experience on the road. What would be your approach to it? So we did a hands-on training with that particular fire.
That's cool. So when you talk about having support for your, the certified shops, what if I own a shop, I'm in the middle of nowhere, whatever, somebody brings their Lucid truck to my shop. We don't know of a local certified shop, but now all of a sudden it's here. Is there anybody an independent shop could reach out to, or what would the protocol be with a situation like that?
Sure. So we have a really strong support function with our program. And so when you go to Rivian.com, you can track down the collision certified list and identify who our approved repairers are, who the folks who've crossed that investment and time commitment to get the training. That's available to somebody who would be looking for that, right? Let me get you to where you need to go.
Right.
And then in addition to that, we have an email and a phone number where they can reach out to us directly. And Rivian's pretty unique. When you purchase a Rivian, you receive a concierge. I have a Rivian, and so I have my concierge's name is Brittany. And when I need anything related to Rivian, I can text Brittany or send her an email, and she will come back to me with questions. So we have a call center. We call it the Customer Experience Center, that any customer, Rivian or non, can contact to get information. And so in those instances, if those calls come into our Customer Experience Center, they know how to route those to my support team, to our service support team, to be able to get those questions answered for collision-specific events. If you are in a situation that you've got a Rivian and it's over your head, and you know that you should get this to somewhere else, to somebody who's qualified,
right?
Have that outlet for you to find out who and where.
Right. Yeah, because we can, in a dream world, every Rivian would go to a Rivian certified shop, and every Tesla would go to a Tesla certified.
Exactly.
And that's really not the way that it always works. Right. Most of the time, yes. Yeah. At the same time, I feel like we don't want to leave. If a shop has something, it's not like, well, tough, because you're not part of the program. Yeah. So I appreciate you having that option out there for them.
Absolutely. And Rivian has restricted parts. It's one of the aspects that most certified collision centers appreciate from us. Yeah. And that prevents non-trained personnel or non-equipped locations from being able to get certain parts on our vehicle. Things that are welded and riveted and the safety components, those parts we keep restricted specifically for our certified network.
Right.
So that also can help in those instances, because those parts aren't available for somebody who shouldn't be working on the car. But in the same token, if it's a mirror, if it's a fender, we don't want to put that customer in a situation that they have to take their vehicle somewhere that maybe they don't want to, or that they didn't need to. And we want to work with those shops in those instances and be able to work on the non-safety and structural component types of repairs.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate all that. And I saw Frank, I met him in person at CIC recently at Palm Springs. And I remember when I pulled up to the hotel, there was, I don't remember, 3 or 4 Rivians right in the front. And I was like, well, Frank's here somewhere, because he said he was coming.
Yeah, we had a fair number of teammates who live in Southern California, and so they opted to drive. Many of the folks on my team have R1Ts as well, and so they opted to drive in. I'm going to bet that's what you saw in the park.
Yes. It looked really cool. It looked badass. I was like, all right, Rivian, I see you.
we did a photo shoot, just funny story. And where I live here in Texas, there's 3 or 4 of us here that have them. And had an afternoon barbecue one day last summer. And so we all had our Rivians here, and we whipped them out in the street and took some pictures of it. So
nice.
They do look cool. They do photograph very, very
well. Yeah. They're incredible. Okay. So we've talked about a lot of different things, and I know people listening are like, yeah. But how do I get certified? So let's answer that question, because they're thinking it.
Absolutely. So the best way is to reach out to us directly. And I'm not afraid to put my information out there.
Yeah.
My email is fphillips@rivian.com. Shoot me an email if you're interested in becoming certified, and we're happy to engage with you. We have a very unique network management tool. First customer in the US to use this particular product. It's a UK-based company by the name of ITOS that manages our network. That's a software application. And we brought it to the US because it really takes network management for an OE program to the next level, is how we felt about it. So it's very interactive. It allows both sides, my side, my team, as well as the shop, to really engage digitally and do the things that are required to verify and validate that you're prepared and ready to work on our cars. Right. So step one to that, and the gateway into that is a simple application. So we have a link that you just click into and you apply to. So when you email me, I'll send you the link, and that will get you into the process of applying. My team receives that, gets notified, they review your information, and from there, then we start the engagement. And that's a reach out to say, hey, my name, Tom Ballier, is my West Regional Manager located in San Diego. He'll reach out to you and say, hey, I'm Tom, and I need a shop in Tempe, Arizona. I see that you applied and you meet what I'm looking for. How can we take what's the next steps here for you? Can I come visit your shop? And that's kind of where we go from there.
Now, when it comes to having shops, are you giving shops like a certain market area? Like, are you excluding, we have a shop, so we won't do another one for another X amount of miles? How does that work?
So as you know, Mickey, across the country, collision centers are very unique. In some markets, they're zoned. And so every collision center is within 3 blocks of one another for an entire metro city, right?
Right.
And so that makes the location piece of it a little challenging. We don't offer exclusivity. It's not a piece of our program. We want you to earn your business.
Right.
We want to be there to give you the tools so that you can successfully do that. But we also don't water the network down.
Right.
And so we're very aware of where our vehicles are delivered and the number of vehicles that are delivered in any geographical area. We have visibility to that. And so we use that information to guide the growth of the network. Part of our network management tool is also the data intake that we get. So we get to see the repair information that's going on. We use that volume data also to gauge where we need to expand or add in some instances where we don't have anybody yet.
Right.
We use that data. So we're very data driven in how we calculate the growth of the network. It's not a whimsical, I think I got a buddy over here and I want to make him certified, so we're going to put him on. That's not
right. Right. Yeah. I appreciate that, because nobody wants to make that big investment and they're getting 2 cars, and then the shop 2 store down, they're getting 2 cars. And then, it's like, hello. So again, I appreciate the way that you seems that, and I have not worked directly with your program, but the way that you're explaining, the way that you're explaining the program seems just awesome. It seems you guys really put a lot of thought to this. So kudos to you guys. I'm really, really impressed. And I think everybody listening to this is going to be impressed too, because there are a lot of struggles with the shops, with the dealerships or the manufacturers, getting information, getting data, the expectations, getting the education, all of those things. And it seems like the way that you guys broke it down really allows for the shop to be its best self. And not fail everybody.
Exactly what our intent was behind it. And lots of really smart people put a lot of thought and time into this. Folks who've spent a tremendous amount of time in the industry with challenges, experiencing those challenges. And how do we set something up that we can eliminate as many of those as we can? It's never going to be perfect. We're always continuously improving. That's what we strive for. And that's what we ask of our shops. Just always be better tomorrow than you were today. And we take that same advice with ourselves. And that's always the goal, is to be better tomorrow than we were today.
I love that. Be better tomorrow than you were today. I like that. Okay, so I do have one last question for you, Frank. One thing we haven't touched on is we have a lot of the EV vehicles. Well, all vehicles really, but especially it seems like with the EV vehicles, a lot of my shops are complaining about back-ordered parts taking forever to get them. What does that look like on the Rivian side?
We like to think that we're better than average today in the parts space. we're unique, we're small, we're new. And so we get to be pretty flexible. We get to be pretty dynamic in our approach to ensuring our parts get delivered as fast as possible. But I think if you were to poll our network of shops, they would tell you that we exceed most other manufacturers that they work with on our parts delivery. We do some pretty cool things in ensuring that we get the parts into the hands of the repairers as soon as possible. Be that up leveling when a part isn't available. We get creative and we'll go source that part right at the factory if we have to. And that's kind of our approach to it. And so I think today, Mickey, if you ask my network, they would give you a positive response on our ability to supply parts timely.
That is amazing. That is literally like one of the biggest pain points. Now, where are Rivians manufactured at? Where are the plants? So
the assembly plant that we have today that is manufacturing the 3 vehicles is located in Normal, Illinois. So basically, right, it's a neighbor to Bloomington.
Awesome.
We purchased an old, was a Mitsubishi plant prior to us owning it, refurbed it, added on about 2 million square feet. I don't know how many millions of gallons of paint went into the place, but it's an absolutely beautiful facility. So they're all manufactured there. We are in the process of building a new factory outside of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
The public announcement for that is planning to launch in 2026.
Okay.
Producing cars there. So that's where they're manufactured. We do parts inventory. We have 2 distribution centers, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast that we serve.
Okay. Yeah, so you really can go to the facility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's right here. Correct.
You can literally show up there. Yeah, that is really, really cool. Okay, thank you for sharing that because that is something that can be a deterrent and is something I hear shops dropping some of the other programs because of the parts issue, because it becomes such a pain point for them and the consumer, our guests. So I appreciate the fact that you guys have your finger on that pulse and are aware.
It's very, very important to us. It's the number one question when we approach a new shop as well.
Yeah.
How are you on getting parts to me? Absolutely, hands down, it's the number one topic.
Yeah. And the tricky part is then the shop oftentimes gets left to hang out to dry. Like it's their fault and they're lagging and they're inefficient. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Okay, cool. Well, Frank, thank you so much for coming on and chatting. I think
it was mine.
There's, if you guys haven't seen a Rivian in real life, you got to see one. You're going to eventually because they're about to dump 50,000 more. So get ready because they are super cool. And Frank, I will put your email information in the show notes below, plus a link to the website if people want to get more information. Is there anything else you want to touch on that we didn't have a chance to speak about today?
I think we covered most everything. I appreciate you giving me time, Mickey, to come on and spend time with you and share with the industry. Our goal is to make the industry better. Rivian benefits if we accomplish that, and anything that we can help. Even if you're not a certified program shop for Rivian, and you want some information about what we do or some direction on how we go about it, as you kind of evaluate other programs that you might be considering, please feel free to reach out to me. Happy to share with anybody in the industry to help everybody improve.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Frank. And thank you for listening to this episode of the Body Bangin' Podcast. Stay tuned because in 2 weeks, we're going to have another amazing episode drop and you won't want to miss it. And make sure you share this if you loved it. Share it. There's such great content. You help grow the show when you share it, and also subscribe so you yourself don't miss any of these awesome guests that I have on, just like Frank here today. Thanks again, Frank, and thanks everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have some incredible topics and guests coming your way you will not want to miss. If you are watching on YouTube and don't want to miss the latest and greatest, you'll want to hit the bell after subscribing, so you will get a pop-up each time a video podcast goes live. To our devoted fans, would you mind paying it forward and sharing this little gem with someone else you think may benefit from it? Much love from all of us here at Body Bangin', all things auto body.